Before we get started, quick update on the last video. The chickens really like their watering system, and they've been using it a lot. One of the best ways I know how to keep my girls healthy is by feeding them a well-balanced diet. And because chickens aren't all that picky when it comes to food, sometimes that can be easier than you'd think on a farm. Whenever I make a harvest, they get anything that isn't grade A. Here on the farm, we have an incredibly high standard for sale. Maybe a little too high. These chickens are definitely pretty spoiled, but I want them as healthy as they can be, so I'm not gonna change that anytime soon. Today, I'm gonna make feeding them a little bit easier on myself. We're gonna upgrade their feeding system. I may not spend a lot of time planning my builds, but I do spend a lot of time measuring for them. I wanted the chicken feeders to extend just about 5 feet off the ground. That gave me plenty of space for food storage, without it being too high for me to fill it myself without any extra tools. You'll see that later. While it didn't have to be perfect, it kind of bothers me when things don't line up perfectly. You'll see that later too. For every cut in my videos, I probably measured 4 or 5 times. On the farm, a good measuring tape is worth its weight in gold. I grew up hearing that a bad workman blames his tools. But I love my tools, and I would be nothing without them. I don't exactly have a big workshop, and my tool budget is modest. So the tools that I own have been put to the test, and they've survived things that normal tools probably wouldn't. This Ryobi 6-inch battery-powered circular saw has the blade reversed for cutting through PVC. If you ever want to cut through PVC and your blade isn't reversed, you're gonna have a bad time with it. For the feeders I'm building, we needed a lot of tiny connector pieces, so there are a lot of cuts in this build. These connections serve to hold the entire thing together, really. So there's gonna be a lot of weight on these, and we need to make sure that if they're not the same size, they're at least long enough to connect these fittings well. Each of these connecting pieces ended up being anywhere from 8 to 9 inches long. And this is where, if you had a bigger workshop, a miter saw would come in handy. I really wish I could have got these pieces even, but I was using hand tools. And there was no way I was gonna cut it again. But they didn't have to be perfect, right? In my previous video, I talked a bit about how to use PVC primer and glue correctly. What I'm about to do is intentional misuse of a product So why am I shooting myself in the foot and going against the instructions on the bottle? Because I want a certain degree of impermanence in these fittings. Even with the light applications I'm using here, this'll last years. If I ever need to take it apart, for any reason, I'd like to be able to reuse some of these fittings. So I stuck with one layer of primer, one layer of cement, only on one edge of the fitting. It's not gonna form a perfect seal, but for us, that's okay. I was pretty curious how they would all look lined up next to each other, so I assembled them before putting them into the coop. But I haven't glued the lower end. I haven't had a chance to talk about this yet, and I'll probably feature it in a future video, but I use my Flashfish solar-powered battery as a portable generator for all my tools on the farm. I'm not sponsored by these guys, and I'm not being paid to say this, but I can't overstate how useful this thing is. This bad boy has been with me for the past 4 years, and it still looks and works just as well as the day I got it. It's seen me through 5 hurricanes, 2 hunting seasons in the Big Cypress Swamp, and I put this thing to use just about every single week. If you don't have one, I strongly recommend you change that. I put an Amazon link to it in the description. I used my Dremel with a 1/2-inch cutting wheel attachment to cut through the hardware cloth for the feeder to pass through. Because we want to make sure that the coop is still predator proof and pest proof, we can't have any gaps that anything at all can use to get in the coop. This build exposes a lot of sharp edges on the inside of the coop. And to make sure that the girls don't hurt themselves, I did a little chicken wire origami to keep all those sharp metal pieces out of the coop. And to keep my little fingies safe, I used the Farmer Special leather work gloves. Just like always, I'm doing some test fits. Everything's looking good, and there are no gaps. To keep the feeders upright, I used 1/2-inch hooks screwed into the coop, strung together with a length of chain I had laying around. While I was putting everything together, I got the feeling that the girls didn't appreciate what I was doing. I don't quite know why I felt this way, but it seemed like they were out to get me. But I'm a farmer, and I had stuff to do, so whether the chickens liked it or not, we were gonna move on. Eventually, I started to pick up on the hints that the girls were dropping. But I was sure that with enough time, they would grow to love it. It kind of bothers me when things don't line up perfectly. But for the good of the girls, I had to add some variety. Just not in a place where I could see it. The girls each have their own personalities, and those come with their own preferences and tastes. When we start using the feeders, each tube is going to be filled with the exact same blend of organic layer pellets, sunflower seeds, and mixed birdseed. Because we want them all to have a balanced diet, it isn't practical or smart to offer each of them different mixes. What we can offer them, however, is the illusion of choice. Each feeder has a hole that's a different height and a different length. It's not much to the human eye, but trust me, the chickens can tell the difference. I'm pretty happy with it, but next time we'll see what the chickens think. Hey, thanks for watching another video. The chicken coop upgrades have been great, and I love building things, but I really want to grow some plants. Unfortunately, to grow them well, there are a few steps I have to take first. Next time, I'll be cleaning up a bit around the farm. We need to make sure that the farm is ready to have some special visitors stop by.